Well, listen, there's still almost 2 weeks to go. The polls have tightened a little bit.
They have.
I want to ask you one last question from Alberta. I'm a little worried about Ontario, but I am worried about Alberta. If Mark Carney wins, especially, God forbid, if he wins in a powerful way, a working majority, I'm worried that Albertans will say, there's just no hope here. There's no chance. We're robbed again, and Mark Carney is coming to kill us.
Yep.
And I don't know where Danielle Smith will wind up on this stuff, because she said some things that suggest she's open to changing Alberta's place in the country. What do you think Alberta will do if Mark Carney, Mr. Net Zero, wins?
I don't know. There is a strong, and people have been poo-pooing the idea of Alberta's separation for a couple of weeks. Like all the major commentators have said, oh, it'll never work. They've only got 30% support. They've got 30% support without a movement.
Yeah.
They got 30% support without a leader.
Yeah.
You worked for Preston Manning.
Yeah.
You know what the Reform Party would have been without Manning.
Right.
And you know what it became with Manning.
Right.
So if a Manning-like figure steps forward to say, I'm quite prepared to lead a separatist or independent movement or a nationalist movement or a redo Confederation movement, that 30%, I think, could easily become 40 or 45%. And with the right circumstances, could get over 50%. And you'll remember the Clarity Act says, in order to leave, you need a 50% majority on a clear question.
Yeah.
So do I think it's completely out of line? No. Like, what would have happened in 1989, 1990 if Preston Manning had said the West wants out rather than the West wants in?
Right.
We would now have had either we would have had separation already, or we would at least have a very strong independent movement in Alberta. And I think we could get Saskatchewan to go with us.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I remember you and I a long time ago when we were both much younger and not involved in what we're doing now, talking about whether or not we would want Saskatchewan because it was leftist and it was poor. I'd take Saskatchewan in a heartbeat now. It's very much like Alberta culturally, politically. And so it has higher percentages of independent movement or independent support than Alberta does. Alberta, because Alberta is well off, reasonably well off, it's a little bit harder to move that needle over to separation because are we going to mess up what we've got if we push too hard on it? But I think even if it never comes to much of anything, it's good that there is this talk every once in a while, because people in Ottawa are going to have to pay attention. Or I think what will happen, like, so in Quebec says, oh, we're going to hold another referendum. And everybody from Ottawa runs over and says, oh, please don't do that. What can we give you? Here are buckets and buckets and buckets of goodies that we're going to give you. Here's a truck. We'll just back the truck up and give you more goodies.
Yeah.
I don't think they would do that with Alberta.
No. The opposite. They would call them traitors.
But that, I think, would push the independence movement even further.
You know, if anyone, like right now, the separatist movement is led by people who have not a lot of authority, not a lot of status. They're not household names. They're well-meaning folks. Some of them are a little rough around the edges. I do not believe that they are the kind of leaders like Preston Manning who could transform things. But I think that whoever were to step out, like they went after Preston Manning when he started the West Wants In Reform Party. They called him racist. They called him all those things. The way they would go after anyone of credibility, they would destroy them. Because think about what an existential threat. You mentioned if Alberta's gone, would Saskatchewan do it? Well, it would be a domino effect. And would the North come, and really would BC remain cut off, and would the rest of Canada, like it would be a domino effect of redoing Confederation. And by the way, by the end of it, you might actually see a 51st and 52nd and 53rd state. I don't know. Alberta would be a battleground for Albertans, but you would see all the deep state, all the media, every single establishment institution in the country come to destroy whoever called for separatism.
Yep,
but you would also see under the radar other global forces that want Alberta dislodged. Alberta would be a global information battleground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And go ahead.
Take a look in Quebec. Quebec had soft sovereigntists for, well, probably since the Lesage government in the mid-60s. But as soon as they got René Lévesque, who had a profile, who had been a Lesage minister, who was an articulate speaker, who was prepared to put himself out there as the head of a sovereigntist or a separatist movement, they won an election.
Yeah.
And it might start in Alberta. It might start with one MLA. You might have it might be another Kessler. You might have that. You might end up with 6. You remember that Peter Lougheed's conservative government that was in charge for 44 years started off as an opposition of 6.